Yeah, I thought somebody was going to get me one of the clapping things. Get on Amazon and order one.
Budget cuts, man.
Oh, clapboard. Okay. That's literally what it's called, Blake? Worldwide leader in podcasting. And here we are going, what's that thing called? You know?
The clapper.
Yeah, the clapper.
Shot of penicillin. Take care of
that. Oh, my gosh. You're going to get us in trouble. You're literally, JT, going to get us, what's the thing? FTC? No, that's the federal.
FCC.
FCC, that's it. Yeah. A wrist slap versus a prison sentence. I think there's a big difference between those two brands, two companies there. Yeah.
It's
FCC
funny though how
FCC.
much I didn't even realize how much I said the F-bomb until rewatching that.
You got us. You got us.
Well, my wife called me. Alicia called me. She's like, "Hey, when did you guys start cussing on the podcast?" I'm like, "Well, we didn't." And she goes, "I just counted. JT cussed like 14 or 15 times." And I said, "Really?" And she said, "Yeah." And that was in like the first 5 minutes.
Well, because I had
to turn it off. And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
I didn't think we were recording. You know, I didn't think we were using
Lesson learned, JT.
Yeah, I didn't think we were using that. So
they're always watching you.
They made it good. They made it good. I didn't hear any negative comments about it.
No, I got no negative. Well, Alicia, but she's hypersensitive to that type of thing. So
she can, you know where she can go.
Hey, now, be nice. I know it's your sister, but it's also my wife. You know, so
you agree with me. You can agree with me in here.
Yeah, she told me, she goes, "You know that gets served up to Sophia. Your show gets served up to Sophia. You know, on her YouTube. You know, it's a suggestion."
She hears plenty of others.
Well, it should be
plenty of stuff on YouTube.
I said, there's way worse on YouTube. Like sometimes whenever she's not listening on her headphones or whatever, I'll like, but she knows too. Sophia will be watching something and it'll be like trending the wrong way, and her eyes will start kind of going towards me. Like, is he hearing this? Is he hearing
Dax
this?
does that too. Because them guys are raunchy, which they do that to try to get those kids. You know, like, yeah. And I've walked by and I've heard some stuff. I'm like, what are you watching? I mean, it's bad. You know.
I haven't heard her listen to anything bad. Every once in a while, it's like the songs that pop up that are like the trending songs are like, well, music today. Like, I think it's why I've gotten so back into country music, and I'm no sort of square. Like, I'm a super hip guy, right? Super hip. Like, I'm so hip I drip, right? Now I'm rapping. Now I'm a rapper. But I can't listen to modern hip hop music and stuff. Like, it's just so over the top. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I do. I don't know. It's terrible, man. It's gotten really bad in my opinion. But, oh well. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered, this is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport, drag racing. Prove me wrong, I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, October 25th, 2023. It's Halloween this weekend. It's unbelievable. Or like what, early next, something? Yeah, crazy how fast time flies when you're having fun, they say. Hey, I want to remind you guys, just stop whatever you're doing, click like, click subscribe, help us spread the gospel of drag racing. We're growing this YouTube channel. It's really making some moves, man. We got some steam, and we appreciate all the support. So remember, just stop whatever you're doing, click like. Make sure you share this on your socials and everywhere else that you roam. Tell people. See someone in an elevator, on a hallway, at a racetrack. Tell them about Drag Illustrated. Tell them about the Wes Buck Show. We need you on here. Thank you so much. Of course, huge shout out to all of our sponsors. We got a really fun show for you guys today. Got a lot of drag racing going on. I know that's kind of been the song and dance of 2023. My perpetual bewilderment by how much drag racing is happening at any given time. But man, we are in the throes of it right now. Huge weekend. PDRA World Finals coming to conclusion, I think, for like the first or maybe second time in a decade on schedule Sunday evening, seeing champions crowned out there at the house the Franklin family built. Really incredible weekend for the PDRA. JT, did you guys watch any of the race? I mean, I went back, I watched on Sunday, I watched throughout, but I went back earlier in the week, watched all the finals, took some notes. I'm prepared for some serious analysis if you'd like to dive into it. What I mean, do you guys follow the race?
Just
oh man, serious analysis, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I did serious analysis. You ready?
You didn't tell us there was homework.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, I watched it, man. I mean, that's an awesome event, and they battled weather at that event a lot, and it looked like maybe that was going to come again. I think they battled some rain early on, but finished the event on time. And it's kind of odd. It's odd that it's a Sunday race to me. I don't know why the whole weekend I was expecting it Saturday night to be following, the eliminations of the championship. Then it was like, oh yeah, that's right, we're racing on Sunday.
Poor Tyler.
So yeah, but it was
oh my god.
Yeah,
and you can't even do like lighthearted, really ribbing about it anymore because it's, you know what I mean. It's like,
I know somebody shared like a funny cartoon, and I thought about, like putting it in our group chat, and I was like, maybe I better just chill on that a little bit.
Well, I feel so bad for him.
It's aging, Tyler, right? I mean, I think he's about 48 at this point.
Oldest young guy we know.
Oldest young guy we know, right? He's gonna start getting some gray in that beard pretty soon.
Oh man, but a really great weekend for the PDRA. I mean, to see things shake out the way they did, unless you're living under a rock, you likely know that Jay Cox took the win in what, reportedly his final pro nitrous drag race. How poetic. I mean, could we have asked for anything better than that? Like, just the whole situation. Have you seen the post from Jay's wife on social media?
Yeah.
Just yanking at all the strings, right? I mean, I was about teary-eyed just reading her social post.
I'm reading some more for now. I'm seeing some more.
Well, I mean, that makes it harder, right? Yeah. When you've probably he's had like the best run ever here at the very end.
He's been the best couple races that he's had in a long time, and now you're going to call it a day. I don't think it lasts long. Yeah, I really don't. I'm massively impressed by the man that Jay Cox is. I love the guy. I mean, I really think the world of Jay, and I respect the decisions he's made. But I don't know that this, because I think you could see it in that post. I'm sorry to talk over you, Mike, but you could see it in that post from his wife. Like, this is a pretty big part of their DNA. Like, the kids may need to see him race. I don't know.
Yeah, true.
It's a unique decision. And I think we saw that from early on whenever we first broke that news, because you just don't see it happen very often. Most times it's going to be, I'm racing come hell or high water, especially when you're having success. You've got sponsorship, you've got backing, all the things that Jay's kind of worked to build, and then you're going to step away from it. It's real interesting. When I talked to Jay about it initially, he said, I've already done this once in my life with baseball. He said, I could still be, I'm getting close to 40 or whatever, and I could still be playing some kind of high level rec league baseball, but I don't. And I had to kind of walk away from that because they didn't see, a future in it, or maybe at that time in his life, he wanted to pursue racing, whatever it was. So, he's done this before, so I think he's used to it, but we'll talk to Tommy Franklin here in a little bit, who is also a family man and has gone about it a little bit differently, where he's surrounded himself with his family. They're a little bit older. Everybody in the Franklin family races, is involved in racing. They run the track, they run the series. So his way to involve his family, not that Jay doesn't. Jay has his wife and kids there, but they're younger. They don't necessarily have any other roles in racing besides supporting Jay. Whereas the Franklin family, they're all in, and that's the way that they do the family deal. So it's kind of a compare and contrast, two different ways to do it, two different men at different points in their lives that race in the finals at PDRA this past weekend, with Tommy clinching the championship, runner-up finish. Jay gets a walk-off homer to end his driving career.
Isn't that what every athlete wants? Like they want to go out, when they're still relevant, when they're still good, or after a championship, but very few do it. I mean, I was just getting ready to say, it's so hard when you're living that high, man, to let that go. Like, you don't want to at that point.
And that's Jay's first win. And one more thing, I couldn't remember the last time he had won, because Jay's had a lot of success, had some awesome runs, but it's been a little bit of a challenge for him to keep it all going consistently and get some wins. And I think, according to Nate, which I think Nate would know as well as anybody, his previous win was at Bowling Green in 2021.
Hey, gang, let's take a minute here, pay a couple of bills, and just get an invoice sent down to my buddy Mark at Redline. I want to remind you guys that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. I actually just got the oil changed in the ZL1 in my Camaro, and of course, bring the oil with me. I only run Redline and all my stuff. A lot of the best racers in the world make the same decisions that I do, and they all listen to me. Every one of them. They hang on my every word. So log on to redlineoil.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. To imagine a world where Jay Cox was winless for over a year is very difficult to do. And I'm curious, and put it in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Like, I like to know this. This is one of the earliest lessons I learned in racing, is like how to keep your wife invested. So put it in the comments, and we want to know, like, throw it in the comments, throw it in the chat. How do you keep your family invested in racing? Because it's something that we should all be talking about, right? Because but we're hearing a couple of different things, right? Tommy Franklin's answer is, I think clearly his answer would be to get everybody in a race car, get everybody involved. I remember I've met people that, dads especially, that were quick to make sure that everybody had a job, right? Like everybody had the thing that they did, and that kind of got them invested. So I'm curious, all you guys and gals chatting with us right now, let us know in the comments, because I want to know how other people do it. One of my earliest business mentors, I asked him, I can't remember how we got to it, but I said something like, hey, are we getting a hotel this weekend? Or we're making travel plans for an upcoming event. And I said something along the lines of like, hey, are we staying at the track, or what do you want to, are we getting hotels or whatever? And he was quick to tell me, my wife's coming. So yes, we're getting a hotel. Yeah, it'll be, the Omni in downtown. And I got dinner reservations for Friday and Saturday night. And I was always like, man, these guys, like, the badass in me was like, I don't care about staying at some fancy hotel or going out to eat. I want to go drag racing. I don't want to leave the track at all. Mike ran around with me a lot early in those days when I had to be the last one that left the track. Like, I had to be.
Well, when we went racing, we had the toter, and most racers do. You don't leave. You got everything to grill and eat 3 meals a day, and you ain't leaving the track. But it's usually just the guys, right? And so, yeah.
Right. And so my mentor, he shared with me, he goes, hey, man, this is a weekend that my wife's going. If it was just us, we'd crash in the motorhome. But like, the trade-off that he had in place was basically, you're going to support me going racing and having all this fun and spending all this money and blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to, pay it back by making sure that when you come, we stay at nice hotels and we go to nice restaurants. And I try to, there's something in it for you.
Mini vacation.
And I saw
her,
that.
Right.
Yeah. A little mini vacation for her. She does have to stay at the racetrack all day and do that whole dance or whatever. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of ways to skin that cat. So let us know in the comments how you keep your family invested in your racing. I'm dying to know. What's JT? Were you golfing, drinking this weekend? Both? I kind of lost track of you.
Yeah.
Where were you?
What kind of question is that?
No, I actually didn't drink till Sunday, till the games. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
How about that? Did you watch the Chiefs?
Far behind on everything around the house, because we run pretty hard, and during the week, we had 3 kids in sports
of the century.
Oh my gosh,
we run pretty hard. Yeah.
Well, here in Northeast Missouri,
all your Facebook friends are aware.
Yeah, here in Northeast Missouri, wintertime is creeping up on us, and I have a list a mile long of shit that has to get done around the house before wintertime. And
JT said he normally has a winterizing party.
That's what I need to do.
That they have every year, where they winterize all the equipment for the year. And
who does that?
Have some beverages doing it. And you didn't know. You said you have that, and you have FOMO because you didn't do it this year.
I know. I get FOMO on everything. There was a party Saturday night and I didn't go, so I just moped around the house. Like
moped around the house. Was it a high school party?
Huh? No, it wasn't this time.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, it wasn't this time. Yeah, at some point you're gonna have to wave the white flag and quit going to those.
I know.
Maybe.
I know. I thought when I hit 40, I was gonna stop, but
I went. We went to the
50,
stockyards on Friday night.
Awesome.
Man, I love the Fort Worth stockyards. It literally made. I fucking love this city. It's such a unique experience. I remember being jealous of Mike for years and years and years because every time I talk to him, he's like, "So
you're no
proud
longer jealous
that he lives in Charlotte." Right? I mean, every time I would like. I remember when I lived in Northeast Missouri as well. I would be like, "Hey, Mike, you guys ever moved? You ever relocate?" And you're like, "No, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I would never leave here. There's no reason I'd ever leave." And I was always jealous of that because I'm like, well, where I'm from, we kind of look for every reason to get out of town, you know?
I love it here.
Yeah.
Except for JT.
Yeah, I love it.
Making the best of it.
No, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm not bad. I'm just saying. But I love Fort Worth, and I love the historic part of this city that it's a city, but it's still got that country Western vibe. And we went out to the stockyards a little bit on Friday night and had some fun, went to dinner with friends, and we're working. We don't have any friends that don't drag race, like none. And so this is a big deal. It's like some of Soph's best little girlfriend's parents. And we went out to dinner with them. We had a big time though. You know, we had a lot of fun. Went to a Mexican place. I love Mexican.
It's funny
food.
though, because you're probably sitting there talking about drag racing. That's probably all that you talk about. And they're sitting there going,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I tried.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I felt like that meme of Pablo Escobar or what is sitting on the swing set by himself. You know what I'm talking about? It's like, does anybody want to talk about those new Musi motors?
It's easy to do though.
What did you guys hear about the MPK race? I heard there was a fight.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like,
it is. It's easy to do.
Everybody's
It's
like,
you start talking about it. It's what we talk about all day, every day, right? Even at night.
Our Uber driver Friday night
and
talked
you just keep
for
talking about it.
22 minutes,
too long,
solid, about the school board or something that was happening or whatever, like local politics stuff. And I'm like, what? And
Well, I can tell where you screwed up on that. There's a little check mark where you can hit silent.
I'm going to do that moving forward.
Low communication mode.
It feels so rude to forewarn these people that I don't want to talk to them. Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're driving. I don't care if you're an XL, a pet, an Uber Eats guy. Don't want to hear what you have to say.
Probably would
just
appreciate it.
That's the difference between me and you. Because if I could have that option on everything throughout life, that would be all. Like get on a plane. I want an option when I get on the plane. Actually, I do have that option. I immediately put in the AirPods. And
it doesn't stop everybody. It stops like 97% of people. But
the noise canceling on these things is so good. I cannot hear you talking to me sitting right next to me.
Not as many people.
I've literally had people sit next to me on planes relatively recently, and I'm like, put in my AirPods, right?
They talk,
and they're like, "Hey, where are you headed?" And I'm like, "Don't you see? Like, I've already committed. Like, they're stuck, sealed nicely." But I pop one out and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I live here locally. I'm headed to a work thing. Yeah, you?" They're like, "Yeah, work thing, conference." I'm like, "Okay, cool. You know, Duke back in, right?" And
I don't believe it. You believe this, JT?
No. That's a true story.
It turns into an entire self-help conference.
No, there's no self-help thing.
Yeah, you heard the 99,
nothing. I'm just saying this happens a lot. Rule? I'm trying to help people. Dude, sorry. You know, you try to buy shots. I try to give sage advice.
JT's waiting on that drink cart.
Oh, man.
Where's that thing?
Yeah. At Frontier.
Truthfully,
I have a prick comment, man. Like, now I'm mad. Like, ruined the whole vibe. I was literally, that's a true story. And that's very
No,
you were going to talk. You were talking to
you're the guy.
There was no.
You're the guy talking to the person with their AirPods.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I mean, I've done it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they've got to be really interesting. Like there's got to be like a dope watch they're wearing, or I like their shoes, or they're reading the Wall Street Journal. There's got to be something, or they're reading like a car magazine,
business journal.
Few and far between.
Business journal.
I've referenced it twice, and you guys are acting like it's a nervous tick.
I'm just joking.
I mean, geez Louise. Twice I've referenced it. SBJ.
Hey, speaking of NPK, you mentioned that earlier. They're in your neck of the woods this weekend.
They're fist fighting. We out here.
Oh, yeah.
I guess Justin Swanstrom beat up somebody.
I did. I saw the video.
Watched the video. JT sent me a dark
web
surveillance
video. Some serious. I mean,
The best part about it is how about the video is being done like this. Like right, clearly secretly recording.
Yeah.
You know, I like how everybody else just stood there, didn't even flinch. Ryan Martin just he didn't even move.
And then laughed. They were laughing. Nova was laughing.
They're just kind of like, okay, let's see where this plays out.
That guy was big mad. That guy was big mad.
Well, he got him down. Then he gets up, gets him again. I don't know what that was all about, but I ain't trying to fight Justin Swanstrom.
Well, nobody wins a fight. He swung on him, it looked like. Right? So, you know, I mean.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
the other guy swung for.
Justin had started, definitely not.
No.
Justin was yelling at through his tirade that he continued to yell at the guy. He said something like,
it's so funny. Like,
I ain't trying to fight anybody out here.
High drama in that whole deal, that whole scene. And
it's, I was there a couple weeks ago at Galat. And like I told you, it's like everybody is just like raw right now, worn out, exhausted. That is a long season, and it continues to get longer. I mean, I think Texas was supposed to be the last race of the year, and then they've got one or two more that they added. I can't even remember. I know one's in Phoenix or something. But yeah, everybody on that deal it's just like a marathon. Everyone's exhausted. Every car is taped together at this point. You know, tearing stuff up left.
I talked to Paige Coughlin. They're rigged.
Oh,
Did you see the pictures of their rig?
Yeah. That's awful.
I text Paige and Troy, her dad, because I'm like, somebody's injured more than likely. Like, who was driving it? You know, Beaver, their driver crew guy was driving it, and he's okay by all accounts. And I didn't ask. That's a good question. Let me text Paige because. I said, are you guys okay?
A front tire, which would make a lot of sense.
I guarantee you that was one hell of a ride.
She texted me, he had no injuries and walked away, and the car is already unloaded and on the way to the racetrack. So the car must have not been too bad. So they'll be at MPK this weekend. I don't know.
They've had, man, it is, right? It's just a rough deal for everyone out there. And that's, if you go to those races, you kind of take for granted that they, obviously they're running these things on the ragged edge, but they're tearing stuff up left and right. They're hitting the wall. They're blowing up. They're just the no prep nature that you kind of forget about because these things are going so fast and they're such high level cars and racers that, there's a lot of carnage, more so than a typical
and then you add to
door slammer race.
When there's this many races and they're here than there, and there's not really any rhyme or reason, to keep them on like a path or a trail, correct? So now you have more wear and tear on your toter and your trailers and your tires and
I'm telling you,
shit like this happens,
There you cannot. That's a ton of racing. I mean, I just think about like I can't imagine. I mean, if the tables were returned, as my wife sometimes says. Returned on the floor. Yeah, she does. She'll go.
That's a good one,
Wes. If the tables were returned, and I said, "Oh my God!" Like you just
like
can't
Walmart
do
with no
cliches.
Like, hey, I brought these tables back to you.
Yeah, it's if the tables were returned and the PDRA announced that they were going to have a 16 race series next year, and they might add 2 more on at the end in Nova Scotia. I mean, it would be that's a tremendous amount of drag racing, and we give them a lot of kudos, but there's nothing I tip my hat to the MPK scene for more so than that level of commitment. Doing anything 15, 20 times a year is a big ask, let alone high level drag racing. So that's still
and that's not even
no matter how fast the cars go. That's how much that's most impressive.
Once you wrap this shit up, then now we got to go back and do the OG show. And then we got a spin-off.
We may have to go to Australia.
Yeah, we got to go to Australia. And then, it's just, they keep those guys busy, guys and gals.
Yeah. I think with TV, and I've heard this about the music industry as well. And Blake, our producer, could chime in on this, but you got to get while the getting's good in that space. Like in music, on TV, on the radio. I remember.
Oh, they all know that.
Yeah. You've got to go hard as hard can be. Go as hard as you can. And then it's going to be over. Right. And be cool with that because you had your moment. And it's like the people that there's only so many Reba McEntires or U2s or people that have really been transcendent and had this long lasting career. Most people, there's probably no better than like, will Lainey Wilson still be this huge deal that she is right now as a country music star 20 years from now?
No, you got to get it while it's on the table. Before they return
everything's
it.
so oversaturated.
You don't return that table on you.
Exactly,
return
because those tables will get returned eventually. The tables will be returned, and you've got to get it going, and you got to make as much as you can while you can. So I don't know. I don't blame him. I wonder sometimes if a little pullback on that would bring some more participation. But you can tell though. I don't think tides are turning.
They're not worried about participation. They've got plenty of that. It is about getting it while the getting's good. So we'll see where that goes. But a lot of stuff coming to an end. NPK does have a couple more races. We just saw the PDRA wrap up their season, and we've got NHRA.
Was there a fist fight at the PDRA race?
No, I don't think
we need was there? We should keep.
They don't do no fist fight.
They don't do fist fights. They probably did an ice cream social. Yeah, if I had to guess, there was probably an ice cream social and a pizza party. But that's that's their selling point, and I'm here for it, man. I think it's. I mean, I'd rather have. I don't know. That's a tough one. Do you want an ice cream social or a fist fight to break out? JT, you.
Oh, fist fight.
Okay, Mike,
you want to be in it, or do you want to eat the ice cream, or you want to get
ice cream social or fist fight break out at your race?
I'm eating the ice cream while I'm watching the fight.
While you're watching the fight, put it in the chat, guys. Whether you'd rather have an ice cream social at your drag racing event, or if you'd rather have a fist fight breakout. I'm curious what people think about this type of thing. People get pretty turned off by violence in 2023, universally.
I don't know about drag racers. I mean,
but yeah, drag
because that just adds, because then it's just more drama, and then it's something for them to talk about too, right? So,
for sure,
I'm with Mike. If I'm gonna be watching a fist fight, I'd love to have some ice cream. You know what I mean? That just seems.
You take that ice cream and you shove it in that other guy's face, and then you rub it in the ground.
Oh, just hitting somebody with a half what are the cardboard? How much does that weigh? What is those things?
Right? Or
a gallon?
No, the gallon's a plastic jug.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the cardboard. It's like a half gallon. Just take one and hit him with
That's
it.
a pint.
A pint. Yeah, hit him with a pint of ice cream, like a brick. I know, but I'm saying swing it like a weapon. You're talking about the ice cream on the handle. Oh, your Northeast Missouri showing.
No, I was talking about the
clear
cardboard
thing
box
with the red handle.
No, that's a gallon.
Yeah, what is that?
That's a gallon.
Yeah, the cardboard
that could
box.
Be a weapon.
A regular box of ice cream is a gallon.
No,
it's a gallon. A pint is the little Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah, they're
thing.
tiny.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm talking about. I meant the half gallon, the thing that's in cardboard, that's rectangular, looks like
they're all in cardboard.
Yeah. My Northeast Missouri show.
No, they're not. The clear plastic thing. You and my grandma Verna. It's the only ice cream that exists. The clear plastic
big
tub
bad boy
with the red thing. And I don't know that you could use it as a weapon because I think if when you swung it, I don't believe in that red handle enough.
Hey,
I think the ice cream would leave.
You got a two-handed,
Yeah. You have to say, whack with the vanilla. Yeah, man. And it's homemade vanilla. They put it on there. Even though it's in a plastic container that's clearly come off an assembly line, the shit is homemade.
Now you're Missouri showing, talking about homemade ice cream. Did
your grandma make homemade ice cream?
And we're reusing that tub that grandma had,
Dude, if you go to my grandma Verna's house right now,
we don't throw those away.
You don't throw Cool Whip containers are the real Midwestern. If you go to my grandma's house and open the fridge
right there,
and you open up, there's 74 Cool Whip containers in the fridge.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
You don't need Tupperware.
But only about one of them has Cool Whip inside of it. The rest of them got some gravy, some mashed potatoes, homemade noodles. Then we keep them, right? Does anybody else have Cool Whip containers?
Because then they also label them usually, so they put they write what it is on it and then the date.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Scott, or masking tape, right? A little bit of masking tape and a Sharpie. Yep. Summer 2017. These noodles, right? That's
still good.
It's not going to be my family's certainly not going to put a date. It's not going to be 10/25/23. It's going to be I don't know. Yeah, fall 2023. They're probably good for a season. I'm not sure totally.
Oh, when I had the bar.
Anyways, what did you make of
that stuff all the time in there when they'd be drinking? They're like, you remember back in the old summer of '62 when we went and you can't remember what you had for breakfast yesterday, and you're telling me you can remember the year, whatever.
Hey, before we got onto this, I was trying to ask. We're going to the final race of the NHRA Pro Mod season this weekend.
Yeah, but how pissed are all the PDRA people that we didn't talk about just now going to be? Real quick, Alan Drinkwater. Congrats.
I was telling. We're talking about
Harris, congrats.
All the racing ending.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Continue.
That's okay. Now you can go ahead.
Nope, you go. NHRA Vegas. Is that what we're going to talk about?
Yeah. NHRA Pro Mod season ender.
Oh,
Quick
question.
Obviously, Pomona after that. But
Mike, are you happy to see the NHRA Pro Mod season concluding in Vegas once again after a brief single season sabbatical where the season came to a conclusion in Dallas?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's tradition, obviously, but I talked to a couple people about that as to why they're going back to that, and they feel like they get a strong turnout of cars. I know they always got like regional cars in that area, but everyone was for it. Like, surprisingly, you would think they wouldn't want to make that tow. Plus, I think I don't know if they're going to do a banquet, and I think it plays into that as well. Like, obviously Vegas is the place to have a banquet or any kind of end of year party if you're going to have that. So we'll see how it goes, but I think they're expecting their normal turnout. Championship implications, I don't have that in front of me right now. But
hey, does anybody get this when they go to NHRA.com ever?
What is that?
It's a fucking Google ad, and it pisses me off. Like,
I thought it was like a bot.
No, like I've got to click close thing to get to the schedule page, and it's like, bro, does NHRA really
need an ad blocker?
Google AdSense? I mean, come on, geez.
You need an ad blocker.
There's if you go to dragillustrated.com, and this is a company policy, we ain't selling, I don't know, Red Wing work boots or some random shit from Amazon on our dragillustrated.com. It drives me crazy. Right now,
unless you want to have
local ads served up to me. No, Red Wing boots are banned. You can't advertise on dragillustrated.com. Red Wing, I'd probably be okay with.
What the heck?
Work boots. There was a horrible example. I should do better. Well, look at the Best Buy. Holy shit. Should I have a Best Buy?
You need an iPad now.
Best Buy logo. Should I have to navigate past a Best Buy commercial to check the schedule? I don't think so. I think it's insane. Like, is these other logos on the screen not paying enough? There's a bunch of logos on here. It just drives me crazy. Sorry, pisses me off. I think it's stupid. Where's this at? How do I find competitors?
NFL highlights are like that too. When you click on, like, they'll give you push notification. Watch
the video
you click
here. You can never get to it.
It's like 30 seconds of advertising to watch this 10-second video. And
then it doesn't load, or it just takes you to the homepage.
It's a whole different thing. What the hell?
I'm all about making money, right? I'm here for that. But I do think that sometimes you got to think about. Well, let me give you UX. You guys know what that stands for?
User experience.
Yeah, that's some modern. There's a little bit of trend.
Mm-hmm. Trying to throw some words on it.
Talk. I'm throwing.
Have you ever heard of the 99.1?
Well, you know what also pisses me off? Another thing, not having these things numbered.
Your buddies ribbing you on your show. That really pisses you off.
Buddies, my ass. Yeah. Okay, here, hold on. I'm trying to figure out how many. All right, quick question. Why doesn't it give me a total number of how many Pro Mod cars are entered? Isn't that somewhere, or do I have to count them?
That you got to find that somewhere.
Everybody's gonna have to listen to me count. I'm pretty good at it, so bear with me here. One.
See,
listen to me go.
2, 4,
I think that's
listen
on
to
NHRA
me.
Racer
Listen to me go.
page.
I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 8,
17,
6,
18, 19 cars entered. Marty
That's
Robertson's
pretty good.
on this list. That ain't happening. So 18.
Yeah.
So there's 18 cars entered. That's hella good for Vegas. I mean, but I think this goes back, and this is a valuable conversation for everybody in the biz, right? There's got to be, in this day and age, it's got to be more than like a points race. It's got to be more than just a little bit more payout. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Vegas, it's a destination
Where did you find that
event.
list?
Well, NHRA.com, once I navigated past the Best Buy pop-ups and stuff.
But where on that? Event info?
Okay, so then I clicked event info, and then there's a bunch of boxes, and I click competitors.
Competitors, got it.
Yeah, takes a second. But, I mean, thank God they have the information. I mean, who am I, a bitch? But
yeah, man. You know
what? I like seeing Dimitri.
I also wonder
Kabuoff from.
Yeah, and they got that car repaired. I saw that they're ready to go with that car. Yanni Lindbergh and the crew got that thing back together. And also this whole deal with Vegas West. Do you think that the fact that there's not a countdown plays into that? Well, no, NHRA, the Pro Mod is doing a countdown this year.
They did do a countdown.
Well, where are the We need to look at the point standings.
I'm looking at the
what I'm saying is you get down to the end of the year, and I feel like, yeah, you've got your countdown usually, but then if you kind of start to whittle down your field to really, when you're going out to Las Vegas, only the competitors that are in the hunt are really motivated to go. And I kind of think that is a little bit of an argument against a countdown situation, where if you still got a lot of people in the hunt at the end of the year, you're going to get more cars. On the flip side, if you've got somebody that's already locked it up and then run away with it, that can hurt as well. So it's kind of like a tricky dance on which way, what's the best way to go when you get down to the end of the year and you've got a race that, is quite a haul for a lot of people.
But this is the reminder that you have to be telling these stories all the time. I think sometimes even like the three of us here, you go, oh my God, are we talking about this too much? Are we like beating this drum too much? You can't do it enough, because there's so much happening and there's so much information available, and there's so many things being thrown at us every single moment of every single day, it would seem, that you've got to like really because I mean, how is it that I don't know exactly how this countdown works? You know what I mean? But it just speaks to the fact there's a lot going on, man, and you got to really spell it out. You got to put it in front of people a lot. Here's my takeaway. I mean, we've got Chris Thorne leading the points, narrowly ahead of Justin Bond. So is this correct? Yeah.
And also Vegas is a 1.5 points race.
Okay.
For Pro Mod.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the biggest storyline to me is Justin Bond having Jordan Lasik basically driving a blocker car. You know what I mean? I think that's a huge storyline. I think it speaks to some kind of the badassery around Justin Bond and company, that they're willing to do that. Like, hey, we got another car, let's put someone in it. And the fact that he's like an up and coming no time driver is really cool. It's great to see somebody. This is what JT is always looking for, is just an able-bodied wheelman getting a shot. Somebody who maybe doesn't have the huge business or doesn't have, the big sponsor, but has the ability, has the skills, and is getting an opportunity to, and I mean, it paid off in St. Louis. He won the first race he ever went to. It's completely unheard of. I mean, there are probably a whole host of former NHRA Pro Mod greats that went years and years and years and years without ever winning a race, that see something like this and want to walk into traffic, because I mean, it was an incredible performance from the JBS Bahrain 1 racing team. But I mean, if you look at it, man, Christopher Thorne, Justin Bond, they're teammates for Bahrain 1 racing, leading Mike Castellana, Jason Lee, another newcomer.
Very accurate.
Another newcomer. Yeah, man, it's pretty interesting. Dimitri, I mean, I had someone tell me this the other day, that they were blown away by how diverse and international the NHRA Pro Mod scene really is. I mean, and it is extremely diverse.
It really always has been, and it's even more so now. What do you think about hauling to Vegas, having the season ender in Vegas, having this road to the championship, as they're calling it, for the final 4 races in NHRA Pro Mod, as far as car count? Because I mean, we're looking at the entry list for Pro Mod. They've got 18 cars going to Vegas by the latest count on this list, which is solid. And they've had the season ender in Dallas last year, I believe, because it is such a haul to Vegas for kind of a one-off deal to end the season. And, Pro Mod, the Pro Mod organization is always kind of looking out for the racers, having to prevent adverse travel situations and all that. So what do you think about having it in Vegas, and how this road to the championship and the point standings are affecting that car count?
Hey, gang, I want to remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of FlowRacing.com. If you're a drag racer or a drag racing fan, you got to get on board with Flow Racing. The world leader in sports live streaming, Flow Racing provides unlimited access to drag racing's biggest events, like Donald Long's Lights Out, No Mercy, and Sweet 16, every stop on the PDRA and NMCA tours, Funny Car Chaos, World Cup Finals, Streetcar Super Nationals, and much, much more. Of course, the Skag Power Equipment Pro Superstar Shootout, as well as the fast-approaching Drag Illustrated World Series of Pro Mod. For me, Flow Racing is a fixture in my life. I spent almost all weekend this past weekend watching Flow Racing. I'm watching the Midwest Drag Racing Series event that's going on at Extreme Raceway Park 1 minute, then I flip over to the PDRA race that's happening in Virginia. It's like the ultimate hack for everybody in the world of drag racing. So remember, to support those who support us, log on to flowracing.com today and join the movement. I think that it's positive. I mean, I think that the overall NHRA Pro Mod series is just trending the right direction. I mean, they had 28 cars earn points this year, 22 or 23 last year. So that's like 5-6 new faces. Have they all hung around? It's been a little hit and miss, right? But by and large, I think the series is showing promise. It's headed back in the right direction. And I think you got to go to Vegas. I think that there are a lot of reasons people go racing. And obviously, chief amongst them is competition and the points and all those things. But I do think there's a secondary part of it that's like going to cool places, doing cool things, experiencing cool things. And Vegas ticks a lot of boxes for a lot of people. I think it feels like a pilgrimage. It seems fitting to end the season in Las Vegas. I felt there's enough of a tradition there that it was worth it. But I mean, there's a great point. If it weren't 1.5 points, would we see this level of participation? I don't know. Historically, Vegas has been pretty light car count wise because a lot of those championship scenarios have almost played out to completion, almost finished up. And so I can you can certainly make a case for somebody who's 8th in the points or whatever, not going to really make a huge change, going to finish in the top 10 no matter what happens. Are they towing from, your neck of the woods somewhere on the East Coast, Mooresville, North Carolina to Vegas? I'm not sure, but I don't know, man. This is a good spot for them to be. Glad to see them. And I think you got to do things like this, the 1.5 points. You got to do those competition driven deals because I'm anxious to see MPK adding those races at the end of the season, having to ask these people to go back out west. I mean, I think there's a reason they made that an event, a qualifier for next season, right? Like you've got to go to there's got to be an incentive, especially if there's not a cool locale, if there's not an awesome city full of casinos and parties and fun, if you're going to just somewhere in Arizona, I think that it's a different deal for sure, So I don't know. Very interesting. I'm excited, man. Vegas is going to be, you figure, the NHRA Funny Car and Top Fuel Championships are insane right now. NHRA Pro Stock is insane. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. But it does seem a little quiet. Like that off week didn't really produce a lot of storylines. Do you agree? Like I thought we'd see some stuff pop up, but like I called Richard Freeman this morning. I was calling around, like looking for juice. Who's got some bullshit?
You called Richard?
I made it a point.
He didn't call you?
Nope. Most days, but I was like, no, I'm going to see what, because I said, he's like, yes, Wes. And I go, any gossip?
Are
like
you
nobody's awake? Like, what is anybody talking about? Like, I want to hear some juicy shit. Like no drama, because he's typically good for some drama. That's like, but there's just no scuttlebutt or story. I was really surprised. I said, are you guys ready to rock and roll in Vegas? They're like, yep, going out there and get this deal done. And I don't know. Maybe everybody's putting their head down a little bit right now because they know there's going to be a shootout.
Well, and they had a string of races leading up to this. They got the week off. I'm sure they were, everybody's tooling up for these last 2 races for the Pro Series. But man, the weather. Have you looked at the weather for Las Vegas?
I have not.
Like, I don't know what the average is. I'd have to dig into it a little bit deeper. Maybe get Mr. Barometer on here to talk about that. But
Keith Haney won a world championship this past weekend too. Yep. Shout out to Keith Haney. Went to the finals, finished runner-up to Aaron Wells, but took home the 2023 Midwest Drag Racing Series Stroud Safety Pro Mod Championship. Congratulations, Keith.
Yep. Shout out, Keith. But, man, it looks cool. It's like very cool weather. And you know how it is out there. It can be surprisingly quick given the conditions. So
when you say cool, like, should I pack it?
Yeah.
I'm typing it in.
Yeah, like
pack jackets.
I think we're talking about maybe one of the days in the 50s.
Ooh,
I'll have to look at it again. It's changed.
Las Vegas, Nevada. Here we go. Let me look. I'm looking at the weather. Let's see what's going on.
It wasn't that bad. I was out there.
Well, speaking of which, I was curious.
Getting cold, and
when you're, your blood was, nice and thinned and keeping you warm.
I don't know if you guys noticed where you were, but on dragillustrated.com, I'm going to bring this up because I worked on it all afternoon. Dragillustrated.com, the top 8 has been updated, and I was just looking. It didn't happen in Vegas, and maybe it won't, but with these conditions, I mean, you got to think Ron Capps and Robert Height have both been like 339 and change.
Oh yeah, I mean, the uphill pitch and the whole deal that Brett lays out
talked about,
which is
Could we see somebody go 340?
Oh, maybe, man. Sunday looks cool. Actually, the weather I think has changed a little bit since I looked at it. It changes all the time in Vegas. Like they're not sure what it's going to be. Just it's a desert. But anyway, 76 Friday, 73 Saturday. Lows in the low 50s, lows in the 40s on Sunday morning. High of a 63. So Sunday could be rowdy.
Well, if you go look at the Drag Illustrated top 8. 5, I guess, of the top fuel speeds that are in the top 8, number 2 through 6, they were all set this year. But interestingly, only 1 of the 8 runs were made this year in speed. Bob Tasca at Dallas a couple days ago went 3:38.57. So, I mean, they're right. They're close. They're really, really close. I'm anxious to see, man. I'd like to see one of these, another one. I got a little bit fired up about that Mike Salinas 308th mile deal. I liked seeing how much people got fired up about it. I liked seeing all the hubbub and conversation about that. We talk about it on the show quite a bit, and I'm anxious to see what people say in the comments. Put it in the chat. Like, do you go to races looking for record runs, or do you want to see great side-by-side racing? Like, put one, would you rather see a world record fall, or would you rather just see great racing and the times and the speeds are kind of irrelevant? I'm just curious what your take is. Share us. Put it in the comments one way or the other, because me personally, I'm a big advocate of great racing. I think one of the points I made is that, like, some of my favorite drag racing that I ever watched or was a part of was the early ADRL Pro Nitrous Pro Extreme days, and those cars went 4.0s in Pro Nitrous, and the blower cars went 390s and 80s. And I think that racing was fantastic. I mean, maybe it wasn't. I mean, it's every bit as good as it is today, I think, with the cars running 360s, 370s. So I've never really been married to one or the other. But I don't know. Go ahead, Mike.
Let's talk a little bit. I mean, let's swing back to PDRA. We need to cover those guys for sure. We get Tommy Franklin joining us here in a little bit. But yeah, they wrapped up their season. Champions crowned. Awesome racing at VMP. What was your highlight of the weekend, Wes? Like, what was your number one takeaway?
I'd say my number one takeaway, the thing that blew my mind, was probably Todd Moyer in that Carl Stevens Jr. tuned twin turbo Camaro in Pro Boost. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, really, still right now, turbo Pro Mods are few and far between. Like, in this moment, I can name 4 badass ones. I know there are more than that, but like top of mind, Mark Mickey, Mark Wardenhausen, Ed Thornton, and now Turbo Todd Moyer. This is I'm excited to see that combination back in play. Seeing that car go 227 miles an hour in the 8th mile, I was just really impressed with that. I think it is very rare for someone to not be a regular in the PDRA to come in and make a splash like that. Todd Moyer has kind of been out of the scene a little bit, not as frequent as we remember him during his 10.5 W days and radial tire days. But I was excited to see that car back out here. I think that Carl Stevens Jr. is kind of a lightning rod, right? I think that he's just a guy that kind of generates some conversation, generates some talk. He does things his own way. He does them different. He uses different brands. I just think it's interesting. It's healthy for the sport. Probably
it is. We need those combinations in there.
Did you see the staging duel between Nova Joe Albrecht and Todd Moyer? Actually had a staging duel. I mean, I think Todd, it probably could be argued, had at least one of all the cars were so fast. I mean, you can't even say that about PDRA right now. There's not a car that qualified that couldn't win the race. But if I had to pick a horse, I wasn't looking forward to going up against Todd Moyer. I mean, like I think he had a great shot at winning. Nova Joe made him wait. They lit both top bulbs, and Nova Joe Albrecht, World Series of Pro Mod alumni, he held him out. I mean, he didn't hold him out. He just sat there and didn't stage, and Todd finally went in after not terribly long, but enough to, I mean, wins a staging duel when people start clapping. When people start clapping on the starting line, it's a staging duel. And people were starting to clap. We were getting some crowd reaction, and I thought, okay, this is going to be good. And then Todd went in and turned on the bottom bulb, and Joe went right in, didn't hang him out, went right in, but Todd had like a 300 light, dead late. Nova Joe goes out there and even whacks it once or twice, runs a 390 something and gets the win. that was probably the highlight of the weekend for me. Watching Jay Cox and Tommy Franklin's Pro Nitrous cars just dig trenches with the wheelie bars. If you're watching drag racing right now and you're not watching Pro Mod drag racing right now is firing on all 8 cylinders. So,
Jay Cox was it for me for this weekend.
Yeah,
with the
great story.
That he's going to hang it up and he's going to go back, spend more time with the family, and then to go out and get a win. And I guess it's been a while, so I think it's pretty darn cool that's how it happened. And that win right there will probably bring him back sooner rather than later, I'd say.
I think that's a solid observation, right? Like, because had he not won or had a miserable outing in his last, race, it'd have been easier. I think you make a good point, and you brought this up earlier, Mike. Well, real quick, Mike, what was your highlight of the weekend? I know the Jay Cox one was near and dear to your heart, but longtime friend of the Carpenter clan out there. But was there anything else that caught your attention, caught your eye?
Yeah, Jason Harris, I think he's just been on a tear really since the start of the season at World Series of Pro Mod. I think he showed out there and went into this race, had already sewn up the championship and won the race for good measure. He's just, you really can't say enough about him. And you go to Big Dog, he's runs well there, wins championships there. He's just a good freaking racer is what he is, man. And a good dude, good family, but all the champions in PDRA, I've got the list here. If you want to run through them real quick and just give flowers to everybody that won a championship in PDRA. Of course, we got Tommy Franklin, Jason Harris, Extreme Pro Stock, Alan Drinkwater, Pro 632, Jeff Melnick, Pro Street, Bill Riddle, Super Street, Blake Denton, Pro Nitrous Motorcycle, Chris Garner-Jones. A lot of these guys, repeat champions, obviously some new ones. Pro Junior Dragster, Braden Davis. Donnie Urban in Elite Top Sportsman. Chad Traylor in regular Top Sportsman. Steve Furr in Elite Top Dragster. Steve Furr lives like a mile from my dad's house, and his trailer and truck, his toter home is always parked out there. But this dude, I swear, I've never seen someone win as many races as this guy. I mean, it's like every race, every sportsman race he enters in, every class, this dude wins and wins championships. TG Pascal, man, honestly, I don't even know if that, I know these guys, I know their family, but I'm not even sure that's how you say his name, but we're going with it. Top Dragster champion, Wyatt Stanley, top junior dragster. So we'll hear from all these guys at the PDRA banquet, which will be coming up soon. We'll see who gives the longest and who gives the shortest acceptance speech. Jim Halsey won't be able to break his 41-second record this year. So Tommy will be out unless Tommy just goes up there and throws a mic drop 15-second.
Not happening
deal.
I think Tommy demonstrated he's verbose. He'll have something to say. I'm looking forward to talking to him today. I mean, he's got an opinion and he'll share it, and I love that about Tommy. But I do think, I wonder, Mike, do you have any inside line? And I know we've got a lot to cover, so we got to keep moving. But I wonder if Halsey and company are trying some stuff. It just seems like either they're having some gremlins, or
they burnt the motor up. I forget what round I was watching. I think it was a qualifying round, one of the early ones, and definitely heard it there, but they're no stranger to that, really, and we'll push that thing. It's just, we talked about Franklin, some of the stuff that maybe they're trying. We'll talk to Tommy about that. They ran that car almost like a radio car. You could tell they were, with it not picking the wheels up, really raising the back end up and trying to maybe take advantage of some of what those guys have learned over there in the shock technology in the radio world. And I don't think that it worked the way they wanted to, and they're back to the traditional setup.
Because that thing's got the rocker panels on the ground. It's got the front wheels up. I mean, I was looking. I mean, that thing's got the wheels in the air to at least 150, 200 feet.
Right. They're back to running it in the standard, big tire method. And I just wonder, the R&D with Musey, the new, they got the new crank deal, made the motors a little bit bigger. And then having Jay and Tommy kind of on the same team now with both running Musey motors. And I wonder how much R&D and how much data sharing is going on there with Pat, and allowing both of those guys really to kind of catch up with Halsey. I mean, Halsey's had this thing dominated for the last half a decade, really, and he's been the standard bearer for performance. And then we saw here at the end of the year, those guys catch up. Jay tied the record. Tommy won like every race since the summer. And so it wouldn't surprise me if those guys are the Halsey team are trying something, and Fulton is working on something new. And maybe we were seeing them go to that at the end of this year, and then maybe they come out swinging next year.
Hey guys, I want to remind you that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our buddies up the road in Oklahoma City at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. I know these guys got some really, really exciting news that's going to be coming out at PRI in just a couple of weeks. I think we're about 6-7 weeks away from the PRI show, and Stroud Safety is going to be making some news there. Make sure you log on to StroudSafety.com. Like I say, support those who support us, and remind them that it was us. It was we here at the Wes Buck Show that sent you. That was my wonder, because it's like, okay, you've won all these championships in a row, and during that time, I'm sure the mindset changes a little bit. Like, we're focused on winning right now. We're focused on consistency, going rounds, and we're obviously pushing. But I do wonder if there was a moment this season where they go, okay, Tommy's having a hell of a year. He might be due. We need to be kind of finding what we're going to be doing in the future and how we're going to, because in my opinion, like from the outside looking in, I mean, Jim kind of had, I mean, I know that like when we were doing the rules and calling racers and doing everything for World Series of Pro Mod, even Nitrous racers kind of treat Jim Halsey like he's in a different class. Do you agree with that? Like, I mean, I mean, even all the Nitrous racers are like, well, you're trying to compare me to Jim. And it's like, well, you guys have the same shit, right? But it's like he is in a league of his own in a lot of ways. Jim Halsey and company, I think they're in a league of their own in a lot of ways. But I can't help, but you don't get to a league of your own by like resting on your laurels or being content with what you've got. So I don't know, very exciting to see something different happening in Pro Night. It's not. It's like the same but different. It's this kind of the same cast of characters, but a different guy coming out on top. But a really exciting time, in my opinion, for Pro Nitrous racing. And to your point, Jason Harris, I saw his post-race interview, or it was a top-end interview, and he's so good on the starting line, man. I mean, it's not 00 Dallas where he's going 00 every run, but it's maybe even slightly better. It's this not safe, but really good all the time. 040 in the first round, 022, I think he was, 026 in round 2, 022 in the semis, and 029 in the final. I mean, if your driver will give you a string of 020 lights, I mean, I think you're fairly happy with that. Do you agree, Mike? Like, I mean, if you had to put a guy in a car right now and go run the World Series, if you owned a Pro Mod and you had one of every one, whichever one you think is the best perform, who would you put behind the wheel to drive a car right now? The guy that you'd put in a car.
Yeah, it's got Jason's driven them all. The only other one that comes to mind to me is Travis Harvey.
Yeah,
who is currently driving both, going for big dog nitrous cars, Pro Boost. He'll go bracket racing just for fun. Those two guys, I would have to say, are the wheelmen of these door slammer classes right now. And if you think back, correct me if I'm wrong, if it was 2014, did Jason Harris not win every single Pro Nitrous race that season?
Yeah, I think that's
en route to a championship. So, I mean, he's been dominant at times, but he's right there in that top 5.
Because here's the thing: if you go down through it, it's like, okay, here's the thing, and we got to say this as a disclaimer before we wrap this segment up. But it's like all these guys are good, right? So don't anybody take offense here, because if you qualify in a PDRA Pro Boost, Pro Nitrous race, Pro Extreme, or Extreme Pro Stock, I mean, you're doing something, right? So everybody's very good. But when you talk about someone, like you said, who has been forged in fire, who's been in these high pressure situations, who's been in the win or the championship, it's all on my shoulders situation, like Jason. I mean, Jason Harris, I think he may be the best. He's one of the best drivers alive right now. I mean, I think as pro modified, I think Jason Harris' party time is probably, I would say he's the best alive. I mean, because even Travis Harvey, I think Travis is a great lever, consistent, safe, not going to wreck your stuff. I mean, he's a fantastic. He's one of my favorites in all of this because he's got some personality too. He's got some swagger. He's still soft spoken, but he can go there. He can play that a little bit. He's a sportsman racer. I love the storylines that surround Travis, but we haven't seen him. I mean, he won a PDRA Top Sportsman Championship, didn't he?
I'm not sure.
Well, anyway, he's had tons of success, but I got to tell you, man, I think Jason Harris, man, he's having a year and a new combo, right? I mean, I think that's the even more interesting thing. To see him do it with multiple disciplines is even more impressive. I think he's one of the hottest guys in the game right now. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does at the World Series of Pro Mod. I think he's going to be a problem.
I'm glad he had a good
whole lot
year
of people.
Because he was pretty upset with himself at the World Series of Pro Mod because he was, I mean,
he had
a hot rod and he knew it.
He did.
It's interesting to see
light. I think
whole shot.
Yeah. Yep. Well, what does that do early in the season for your confidence and for your program? He comes out swinging at World Series of Pro Mod, leads into race wins, championship. We saw Jay Cox. He ran well at World Series.
Well, and you know what those two did as well? Ran the shit out of them at World Series of Pro Mod. Both those guys made a ton of runs. And listen, that's another thing. We've talked about this. Has kind of been one of the subtle themes of today's show is that you've got to tick a lot of boxes for racers. And that's one thing that I'm proud of with the World Series of Pro Mod. If we did that race any other point in the season, if it was mid-year or if it was late in the year, I don't anticipate doing a bunch of testing. The reason we allow testing at World Series of Pro Mod is because of where it lands on the calendar. It's early in the season, and I want to provide that additional value to our racers that, hey, not only are you going to come down here and race on this iconic strip of concrete for $100,000 at the biggest Pro Mod drag race, the biggest drag race in the world, right? But you're also going to get to test all week, right? And I think that's those guys are benefiting from the fact that they made full use of that deal. They may not have won, but they didn't make it, or they made the most of it. So very interesting.
We've seen that happen before too. It makes me think back to the first World Door Slammer Nationals, where Greg Anderson came out and was runner up at that race, and I think it was number one qualifier, if I'm not mistaken. And that was Elite had been dominant up to that point for a couple of years. You know how this pendulum goes back and forth between KB and Elite. And then he came out and had something that year. I think he went on to the championship. Did he not? That same
won the
year?
Championship. Yeah.
Yeah. So it started his season off on the right way as well. So it's not really just of course it's World Series of Pro Mod, but anytime you can get that ball rolling early and keep it going, just like going out there in qualifying and you shake Q1, you're behind the 8 ball. Yeah. And it's tough to make that up. You want to get down there, get A to B, get that ball rolling, stay up on it all year. And I think that's what those guys did at these early season races.
And it's no knock against anybody, because I look back at World Series in March of this year, and it was Melanie Salemi. I mean, she set low ET of the weekend in the Chicago style second chance race, but she didn't qualify. And it was just that they were one run behind everybody else. And I mean, I think that car was a number one qualifying car. Matter of fact, I mean, I think the odds-on favorite for low qualifier was Melanie Salemi at that race, considering how well she had run there before, how successful they've been there before. But it just goes to show you that you'd be the best in the world, but if they get ahead and you get behind, it's just hard to narrow that gap, especially over the course of a few days in March in Florida. So anyways, guys, let's get ready. We got, I believe, Tommy Franklin in the green room. I'm excited to talk to Tommy. Hell of a close to the year. Mike alluded to this earlier. I believe he was undefeated since mid-July, around July 22nd, around Pro Stars. He wins Pro Stars and wins out until the final round, of course, of this past weekend when Jay Cox took the win. But an incredible run. World champion in PDRA Pro Nitrous, all-around great guy. The PDRA celebrating their 10th season. I don't know how that happened, how in the world it's been 10 years, seems like yesterday. But anyways, Tommy, world champion, unbelievable performance. I know the final didn't go the way you wanted to, but we recently spoke with Jay Cox, so we thought it was only fair that we go the other direction. We got to celebrate the champ, right? I mean, right now, I would argue that one of the toughest championships to win, or the toughest mountains to climb in all of drag racing, including all the NHRA stuff that we talk about all the time, and that ultra competitive, NHRA Pro Stock and all these different categories. Pro Nitrous, PDRA Pro Nitrous. I've said it on this show. I say it publicly. The baddest door cars in the world reside within the PDRA. And to be at the top of that heap, especially racing against the guys like Jim Halsey, Jay Cox, I mean, what an incredibly tough way to go drag racing, but you got it done. And in the intro here, when we were chatting, you talked about finding yourselves. Considering how successful Jim Halsey's been the last 3 years, and everything that's gone on, how did you find yourself, Tommy? I mean, how did you make this move from, it would appear, struggling a little bit, maybe trying some new things, but right back on top in a really dominating performance? I mean, up until Sunday night, you hadn't lost a round of racing since the summer, since 4th of July or something.
I know, you're right. It's I didn't want to lose that final round either, but Jay's a good competitor, and I guess it's all right that he won it. No, but it's honestly, man,
because it was his last race.
Yeah, it was his last race. Emotional.
Yep.
I had
Teddy
a couple
Bear
people
Tommy
say that, and you watch the video, you can see I went to the wall pretty hard and probably drove it further than I probably should have. But I was, it was in the moment time that I was like, oh, I'm good, and then I was like, oh no, I went too far. But it was.
Were you shooting for the record on that run? I mean, you had the championship locked up after the first round.
That was kind of the point. We had been. I went 61.4. The record was 61.3. I went 61.4. Then I went 61.9 in the semis. And we just don't get those opportunities, right? The air was there. The track was killer. And I'm like, all right, let's do this. What are we going to lose other than a race? And breaking a string, I would have rather went into the winner at this point. It's easy to look back, hindsight, right?
Yeah.
but no, it was something that, hey, we don't get an opportunity to do this, and to reset that record would be awesome to do it. But to answer your question, Wes, we just worked hard, man. I mean, it's been all season long, just changing stuff. I mean, we had different things in the engine for the last 4 races, which is crazy to think of, right? I mean, we're trying things and changing things. And, it's even as aggressive as Pat is, he's like, you're racing for a championship. You sure you want to do that? And I'm like, yep, let's do it. So, and some of them work, some of them don't, so, but hats off to my team. Everybody was willing to work and do it. But the engines, honestly, that sounds like a lot of work. But I went to every race and not pulling the heads off and just running this thing hard. And it was just it was a beast. The car just ran good. The motors were happy. They were, we were making changes, but not making big crazy changes. With nitrous cars, it's easy to just throw a bunch of jet in it and a bunch of timing, go out there and fly and blow them up. But that's not what we were trying to do. We wanted to run good and, try to keep making the engines better. And that's what we did. And I mean, Jeff Pierce has been helping me a ton on the car, and he kind of got into an element with it and it was in a groove, just picking at the car and just making little bits and changes here and there every round. And the car became super good. And, it started at the beginning of the year and we struggled, early, and it's like, what in the world? And, you get out here and you talk to people and help people, and there's people that are helping us all the time, just, talking about things. And, we went testing, it's funny, everybody always says, I bet you can test all the time at VMP. And I'm like, no, honestly, since I've had the racetrack, I've tested 3 times, in the last 6 years. But we had a test session. We came off of, I can't remember what race it was, but we came off of a race, and we were going to the beach for a week. And I was making my wife happy for once, right? We were going away and we're going to the beach, and we were gone for a couple of days, and Tyler had a test session at the racetrack, and we decided, hey, we got a couple things we want to try. Let's go back and try this. So we did, and that was kind of the changing point. Little small changes. Ricky and I was talking about some things, Ricky Smith and I, and just, and the same thing, not that either side's tuning either car. It's nothing like that. But, sometimes you just talk about these cars and the things that you see and what it does, and you're stumped about stuff. And came back and made a couple of changes, and the car goes out there and, just completely different car. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. We've been banging our head on the wall, and from that point forward, we just started picking on the car, and it was going, you've got to go A to B first before these things can get fast. And that's what we started doing and just picking away at it. But yeah, I didn't even, realize the string that we had winning races. We come out of Pro Stars. There was, Martin, Norwalk, Pro Stars. I think the only Maryland was the one that kind of broke a string there where we lost earlier at Maryland. But it was just good. And, somebody come up to me and they're like, hey, man, we'd won 2 in a row. And they're like, you going to win, 3 in a row? And I'm like, you realize how hard that is to do? The odds are stacked against me, and then we won 3 in a row. And then we come into this last race. And in my mind, you're in a championship hunt and I'm thinking, okay, the odds are stacked against me. How good can you keep doing, But only thing we could do was focus on turning on win lights, and the car did everything that it was supposed to do. And, we didn't get soft. We didn't get conservative, didn't want to play a whole lot of defense. It's funny, there's nothing that drives me worse than watching a football game and seeing prevent defense in the second half and you watch a lead go to nothing, right?
Yeah.
So we were just going after making the best runs that the racetrack would give us every single run. That was our goal. So
how shocking. I mean, there's a bunch of things to touch on, Tommy, but like you were just talking about that early round exit there, Jim Halsey going out in round 1 is just such a unusual situation. I'm sure that scenario probably hadn't even crossed your mind that it would be something that was decided early in the weekend.
Not at all, because they're a great team. I say
Right.
this all the time. They're a great team. You don't expect to see stuff like that. Sometimes when you're as good as they are, people usually mess up against you, right? And give you opportunities. And it's not, anything that you can control. But you roll this back to the race before at Galat. I'm behind them in the lanes. We're going up, and, he had a break against them first round. And I'm like, it's not happening here. He goes out and he shakes, and you look at, from my seat, that was a missed opportunity. You know what I mean? He could have went down that round, but, then went out early at Galat. And then when we come back here, no, I expected that wasn't going to happen, because it's unlike them, but they're the same way. They're aggressive. They race aggressive. They're going to go out there and put up everything that they can. But you talk about emotions. I mean, I'm sitting there and I see that happen, and it's funny because my team doesn't say anything. Nobody come and said, hey, Jim lost. Hey, good job. Everybody's quiet. And I'm like, hey guys, we just won the championship. It's like, so the emotions are everywhere. And I'm like, oh gosh, we got a round to win, because how it is at that point. You're like, you don't want it to be that somebody else handed you the championship. You wanted to do, I knew going into that race, I needed to win 2 rounds to control my own destiny. And that was our goal was, hey, we need to go in here and win the race, not let it be saved by someone else. So I tried to get it together really quick and let's go make a lap. And we did.
Can you reflect or storytell a little bit about just the experience of achieving all this and all of this happening with your family? Because I imagine there's ups and downs to that, right? I mean, you guys spend a ton of time together. I'm sure there are moments like, okay, leave this alone or whatever. But to see your girls doing so well, Blake winning a world championship as well, they're getting engaged. To do this the way you guys do it, how much does that add to it? And I don't want to I'm not discounting or whatever anybody that's the solopreneur or the solo racer, but we have to acknowledge that it's pretty amazing the way you guys do this as a big family. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be at this racetrack that you spent all this time at and poured all this energy and effort into, and have all these things happen. I mean, it's pretty storybook. I mean, it's an amazing thing.
It is. It's on one side of it, I always say this, that's the only reason I can do it, right? If I was leaving my family at home and just going to race and not having them there, then that's part of the secret, man. It's like, hey, let's buy everybody race cars. We're going to the racetrack. but in all honesty, I mean, we do it together and because we want to, you know, it's, or because I want to, I love it. And I know that, you know, my girls love it. I know that my wife loves it, even though she says she wants a beach house, but we have race cars right now, so we're not having a beach house. So it's something that's enjoyable. And as we all know, that's time that you'll never get back. You know, they're going to have a life. They're going to continue to grow in their life. And, you know, Amber's getting married, and, you know, that stuff's, things will change. The landscape will eventually change, you know, so you look at that and, you don't ever want to see it do that. But, you know, racing is our life, but at the same time, there's a lot more to it. So I love the fact that we race together. It's probably, it's something that helps a lot, because the racing world can be cruel, right? There's just a lot of things out here that are, the internet's cruel. You see stuff, you see the way things are said and the way people think. But, what I know is we go out and put our hardest effort out at every time, and we'll, take a step back if it looks like we're getting, anything thrown our way. So I'd like to earn everything, and I make my kids earn it the same way. So, I enjoy it, you know, to answer your question. Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. I love doing it. We spend a lot of time together. You understand that, hey, we work together, we race together, things like that. That's a lot of time. And, you know, with my wife and I, it's hard to, sometimes you have to segment that, you know, and cut that up. And when we go home, it's like, hey, can we not talk about that? Yeah, and we have work to talk about, racing to talk about. And the hard part is, you know, at work, when we're being an electrician here, then it's like, you know, Judy's trying to nail me down every day. Hey, I need to talk to you about this for PDRA. I need to tell them, like, so that usually happens at dinner, you know, and it's like, you know, so it's hard, because as much as we are together, there's also a lot of things that try to, you know, split up the time. But I mean, we're no different than anybody else. Everybody has a busy life, you know, and that's the thing, is we're all busy in our own ways. But, you know, it's just, we work well together. Everybody works well together. And the fact that we can do it, and, it's a lot of work. You know, you go to the racetrack and there's a lot of stuff there. And I can tell you, man, this weekend, we had 5 cars running, because my youngest got to make her first experience at Bracket Bash at PDRA and drive. We got a little S10 bracket truck that
Judy's raced a little bit, right?
She has, yeah. So she kicked Judy out of the seat. And, you know, we always joke with Judy that she's like fair weather racer. It's got to be like 65 to 70 degrees for her to, you know, want to get the car. Yeah. So this was like her weather at this racetrack, but she got booted out of the seat, and Ashley took her spot. But, you know, just, I don't know, sometimes it might be a good thing, because it keeps us busy and we don't have to think and dwell on what's going. And, really it's, Ash is in the lanes. We got to get up there. Amber's in the lanes, and, you know, it comes down to my crew guys as well, because everybody has their, you know, spot in what they do, but we also have something on every car. So it's not like we've tried more and more to get to where there's dedicated people to the cars. But at the same time, we're all out there supporting each other. This isn't a business. It's a family event. So we're out there supporting everyone. And, Ash seems to be she's the young one coming up. So everybody's standing up there watching her, you know, making her, debut. So it was cool. But 5 cars, you know, you're running around crazy. And, I don't know, like I said, sometimes my brain will go all over the place. So maybe it was better for me that I have to focus on that. So,
hey folks, real quick, I want to give a quick shout out to the gang at Aeromotive Fuel Systems, a brand built on passion and performance. 3 generations deep, they're not just making fuel systems, they're building a legacy. They've redefined what racers expect from their fuel systems by way of an unwavering commitment to quality and a spirit of innovation that has existed since day one. So if you're looking to upgrade your fuel system, make sure you check out Aeromotive. That's aeromotiveinc.com, www.aeromotiveinc.com. Trust me, those guys are the real deal.
Yeah, you guys are all over the place. I mean, you're crazy out there running the track, running the series, running all these cars. And then I saw Judy posting. I mean, you guys had just won the championship, and she's posting, champions, please come to the winner's circle or whatever, so I can measure your fingers for rings and everything. You guys are having to do all these aspects and really be a part of everyone's racing experience for the weekend. So, I mean, how is that to the point where you almost can't even fully focus on your own success or the championship, because you've got all these other PDRA racers and champions that you have to do all these things for? And I know Judy's diving right into banquet planning now. So it's really like a selfless act. And it's very impressive to see all the things you guys are able to juggle at one time.
Yeah, I mean, it is, but at the same time, there's I'll field we love talking to the people that just won championships and won races, right? They're the happy people. Who wouldn't want to talk to them? The ones that are the fielding the complaints, sometimes it's hard, but I get it. Everybody's here to have a good time. And when you ruin their good time, it sucks to see that, and that's the hard part about doing this stuff, and hard part about the internet and seeing the way that people think, and, without knowing the full story of why things are done and decisions are made. But we always look out for the best of everything. And Judy loves, she'll probably tell you right now she doesn't love, but when it's banquet planning time and PRI planning time, whoo, boy, these next 2 months, y'all got to pray for me, because it's going to be rough. It's the crazy season for her, because you can prepare and get there. And it's funny, because props to her for getting the ring sizes, because it's so funny that we're usually, reaching out to all the champions. You need to go get your ring size, do this and do that. And that's hard for somebody to go to a jewelry store and do that kind of thing. And so she come with a whole ring size selector, and she's like, hey, I got everything. You don't have to go nowhere. So it's she was ahead of it on that. And there's just, there's a lot that goes, but it never feels bad. It never feels like, oh, I don't have to go do this. It's not that situation. When you've got champions that you're celebrating, and same thing with all the PDRA staff. I mean, they made it cool for them. They're up there celebrating championships. We did pictures with them. Crystal's got champagne that she's popping off for them. And,
the winner circle photos are great. We got a full gallery from Gary
I started beating Gary up about that earlier in the year. And I said, because I actually here I am this inner working stuff, but I'm going, hey, in our coverage of the PDRA races, we don't have winner circle photos. We are using these action photos, and everybody knows what the cars look like. I mean, that's established. They've watched the live feed. There's photos of the cars everywhere. I want human faces. And we didn't have a deal in place with Gary to get photos. And I was like, hey, I want every single winner circle photo ever taken at PDRA moving forward. Every one of them, always send an invoice, because those moments, and kudos to you guys, because I think that's a growth thing where the PDRA has grown, is that you can tell it in the winner circle. And this is secret sauce shit. People don't realize it, but that level of effort in the winner circle, it's just like your guys' banquet. That stuff matters. You may not hear about it, and you may not, you'll probably never get the kudos you deserve. But man, there are people in this, clearly doesn't apply to Tommy Franklin, but there are people out there that don't win very often. You know what I'm saying? You got to be reminded that there are people that will probably never win another one. You know what I mean? And especially when you win at PDRA, that's hard. Everybody knows how hard that is. And that's got to be a memorable experience, right? I mean, it's got to, and that's the way you get everybody else excited, because they're getting doused in champagne, and you know what I mean? Good. I mean, I think that's awesome, man. Kudos to you guys for expanding on that experience. I'm curious, 10 years of PDRA, and you've touched on a couple of it with social, and I want to talk about that, but just maybe 10 years of doing this. I mean, did you think it'd make it that far? I mean, what is your, if you have to just immediate reaction to someone telling you that you've been doing the PDRA for a decade?
Yeah, it's hard to believe. Hard to believe from the aspect that, man, it feels like it's been 2 years, right? So,
it seemed like 10.
But I don't ever think that it was started out that, hey, let's bridge the gap, until something else comes along. So I'm terrible about, I don't lose well. I don't give up well. I don't, things like that. Just, I hate just to, and to a fault at times. Sometimes you just hold on. And, to me, you go through the ups and downs and you keep trying to come out, and there's usually a better side to it if you weather the storm. But it's honestly been great. You know what I mean? The PDRA's been 10 years of building, and I think that's when it's fun, right? It's when you're building and you can always do better. That's when it's fun, when you see success out of that. But guys, let's be honest, you guys have been here the whole time through it. So you see it, you see there's been changes as it goes through. We're sitting here, we're holding it. It's like, hey, this is great. Sometimes you don't see as big as it is and as great as it is. And Wes, you're probably the best one that's ever come and said, hey, go out there and tell the world how bad y'all are, because you are, you know what I mean? And we're not good about that. I've never been good about that. But, when I do, what I've learned to do is take a step back and look at where we are and look at what we do and compare, because sometimes your competition is what you have to compare to, right? I want to be much bigger and better than we are today. We're not where we want to be. But sometimes when you look at the competition level and you look at what you're doing and what's happening within the series, and it's funny because, right, this isn't scripted. We don't script none of this. This is all stuff that, hey, the racers make the story. So the racers come out here. But when you put competition together like it is out there, it is unreal, because I don't care what class it is that we have. It is just the toughest racing I see out there. And that's not anything about me just trying to, promote my brand. It is just, they are the baddest racers in the world. Every class, from the junior dragsters to Pro Nitrous, everything in between. It's the baddest racers in the country. And the where I do think that we help that is, we try to give good racetracks, good consistent surfaces, everything that we can do to do it. And it's never going to be perfect. I'm not here to, to say that it's that, but when you make that attempt to give them the best that you can every time, I think that's what happens is people's level of competition rise, and we have that. And when I look at it and sit back and look at us as a series, I'm like, I can confidently say that we have the best racers in the world doing it. And that doesn't mean there aren't other good racers out there, but I'm just saying we bring them onto the same property and let them go head to head. And boy, it shows up, by some of the tightest fields. What was Pro Boost this week? 600s between 16 cars, and there was 65-0 didn't get you in the show. It's like, that is unheard of, so
it really is. It's great. Have you ever made the mistake of asking someone if they run Top Sportsman at like a PDRA race? I have, because like 100 times I go, oh, are you going to go to Martin? You guys live in the Midwest. You go, I can't qualify there. You know what I mean? And that's like the immediate reaction to like most I can't. And that's Top Sportsman, Top Dragster. They're like, oh no, I don't have a chance at PDRA. I can't go, and that is a real. That's a point of pride, I think, right, for you guys. That like you said, it's not just Pro Boost and Pro Nitrous or Mountain Motor Pro Stock or Extreme Pro Stock. Excuse me. It's all these categories are filled with killers. I'm curious, did you like? And this is me, this is not exactly a softball question, but what is the future vision for the PDRA? I think that 10 years, you got, if you really look back, you have now, PDRA has officially stood the test of time. Mike, how long was ADRL around? How long was XD or whatever the hell that thing was called? Most of those, ADRL had some significant lifespan, right? No doubt made an impact. I'd
say what? It was like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that.
I'm just saying, making it to 10 years,
like a year or two.
Yeah, year or two. Is pretty freaking significant, Tommy. Are you surprised to have made it here at all? I guess you said you're pretty hard-headed. We know that as well. So maybe not, but where do we go from here? Or what do you see as the next hill to climb as far as the PDRA is concerned? Or what's important to you? I had a friend is a great icebreaker. He says, what's keeping you up at night? What's keeping you up at night when it comes to PDRA moving forward?
Yep. I think it's simple. I think it's the same thing that everybody wants. We've grown our our racing's great, right? I mean, I think the racing's great. It's perfect. It's competitive. We have great car counts. All of that is great. So that's going to continue to feed itself, I feel like, and everybody wants to be there. And you're right. If they think that they can't qualify, they're probably working on a way that they can. Right. So that will continue to fix itself and or help itself grow. And our spectator count has gotten better and better. It's been great all season long, but what I really want is to see that whenever we come into town, I want everyone to know that we're in town and everyone want to be there. That's our goal. So it's all about, brand awareness and about racer awareness and making our racer stars and things like that. And it doesn't get built overnight. We've seen it. That's something that's hard to do, but we do a lot of trying to, we're trying to introduce our people to the world, and, whether that's on social media, the things that you guys do and all the media, everybody that kind of contribute to trying to let everybody know who we are, and it's no doubt the disadvantage there is we're not on broadcast TV, so is that something I would love to have? Sure. I would love to have that. But I also want to have sustainability. I want to have things that we know that I'm not a producer, obviously. So if I go out and buy a couple cameras and try to produce a show, that thing's probably going to flop and we're going to waste a lot of money, right? So
we just have to. This is a fun conversation. Like Mike, and this is a huge topic of conversation in sports right now as a whole, because everybody is contending with this TV situation because times are changing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, WWE was way ahead of the curve many moons ago when they announced their own channel or whatever, and they kind of did it perfectly because they bring out their own network and they're going to have all this behind the scenes stuff and they're going to have all these extra wrestling matches and all this old stuff of archives. They do their own channel right going into COVID or right prior to that, and I think Peacock ended up buying all the rights to WWE and they kind of sold the content. But it seems there's going to be a lot of movement towards your own network, your own app, your own place to stream. Do you feel, and Mike, JT, I want you guys to pop in on this conversation as well, because could it be argued that you guys are ahead of the curve by relying exclusively on streaming, Flow Racing as a broadcast partner? Like, I wonder if you're just ahead of it. Like, I wonder if you're ahead of the wave, because I think that's where a lot of viewership, like my kids, I told this to my mom. My mom's in town last night, and I said, it's funny, my kids don't call TV commercials. They call them ads. And it's so funny because we sit next to me and she'll go, oh, that was a good ad. And it is so funny, the terminology, but viewing behavior has changed. People, unless it's like a football game or, World Series, it's got to be a really prominent NBA or MLB game. Appointment viewing is kind of a thing of the past. People watch stuff when they want to watch it. You know what I mean? And
where they want to. Also, there's no differentiation between TV, the thing on your wall or whatever, and the thing in your hand or your iPad, your computer, all these things. It all kind of is run together yet now.
Because I wonder if there's an argument to be made. I spent the money on broadcast TV, and I'm about to get myself in probably some shit here, but I don't know that it's worth it, Tommy. You know what I mean? It's been a lot of money, bunch of money. You know what I mean? And it's such you're so out of control of the process of like what the final thing's going to be. It's a tough world. And if you don't have like one of these networks in your back pocket, or if you don't have some friends, or if you're not part of a network, I came into that whole world just saying, hey, I want to buy TV time. Somebody sell me TV time. Right. And looking back on it, I don't know that it made a difference. Ratings were good, meaningful. I think our initial viewing had 150 to 200,000 or whatever view, or however they rate it. So the viewership was good, but it didn't change our lives. You know what I mean? I think it was fun to talk about for like a week or two when we announced it. I got a lot of feedback from some like people high ups, but that's all perception. Right. You know what I mean? They're just going, oh, you're on TV. Congrats. That sounds like a good thing. But now, almost a year removed, I'm going, I don't know, man. I think you guys I think you're onto something. There are going to be people that probably tell you, oh, you guys should have been on TV. You should be getting on TV. I don't know. I think you guys have been invested in the future, moving in the future. Do you guys think there's an argument to be made for that?
If you would have been, if the production, would have been up to your standards, I guess,
on the TV show,
you probably would have thought completely different about that. Though.
Maybe, but still, I don't think
our expectations are high, and as they should be.
Yeah,
and when somebody doesn't quite meet those. Of course, you're disappointed.
But I didn't have any sponsorship.
It was still really, still really cool.
I'm not trying to.
No, it was still.
But I didn't sell
it was still
anything.
Really cool.
It was super cool to tell my friends, and I got a picture of like World Series of Pro Mod on my channel guide. Right, like that was cool. But I'm just saying, like trying to be honest to the audience. It's like, I don't know. I'm not 100% convinced. I had a conversation with Greg Gill. He's the CEO of GT World Challenge, right? The road racing deal. And he told me that his view on it is what we're talking about, is that he said, I'm never going on broadcast. And I'm paraphrasing here, so please don't hold Greg to this. But he said he wouldn't make the investment to go on broadcast television ever again. And they're not renewing any of their deals. And the only way he would do it is if there was a like sponsorship deal tied directly to it. Like company A comes along and says, hey, we want to be involved in this event, series, or whatever, but we have to have X amount of TV time. He goes, I would then work on making that deal. He said, the only way I'm going on TV is if they're paying me for it. Even if they're not paying me much, but I'm not like, they're carrying the water on that deal. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like if CBS called me and said, hey, we don't think you get the ratings to justify us writing you a big check, but we do think you got the ratings to justify us producing a show, investing, I'd be all ears. But as far as like stroking a check to get on TV, I don't know. I don't know that it's.
Do you think that I think that's where the PDRA and Tommy have done well, and they've been around for so long that you have people trained that know that we're going to be on Flow Racing. We're going to be there. So go check it out there. And you've been around long enough that I think you've got people trained to know where to go get that.
And it's live. And people want to watch this racing live also. And I think when you have live, like what we had live coverage from Flow Racing that everyone enjoyed. And then a month later we had this produced show, and it's so different that I almost feel like you have to have one or the other, really, because if you try to present it those two different ways, it's kind of an odd mix. So I feel like for this type of racing, that's a lot of friends and family want to watch. Everyone wants to watch live. They want to see their runs immediately. That streaming is the way to go. And
it's cool too. Like you can, like you're talking about with your mobile phone or your iPad or your computer or your TV or whatever. So if you have to run to go do something and you don't want to miss it, then you throw it on your phone. You got it in your truck.
Dude, I hate to tell you how much. I mean, my wife, like if the PDRA race is on, I watch it on my phone. Like wherever. I mean, if we're in traffic, we're at church, wherever, and we're going to watch it, And I just wonder as that platform grows, because I think sometimes we think these things are like at the end of their evolution, but like these things,
and they're not.
They're not. Like the streaming experience is going to continue to get better. Like I don't see really any complaints about quality of streams or any of that stuff online anymore. And I do think that, I mean, we've got a little bit of a secret in that we get a text from Nate Van Wagenen that says Pro Nitrous is in the water.
He's our push notification.
He's our push notification, right? Yeah. So we got a hookup. But I think that will probably become part of Flow. Like if I was Flow, I'd be building that into that app where it's like I can send a notification about what's happening on the stream. Like I think that whole thing's going to continue to evolve, and y'all are probably going to be happy that you've been learning it and figuring it out for the last 10 years, because there's going to be other people that kind of try to come into the streaming space that are starting at zero.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so maybe you're ahead of the curve, Tommy. I don't know how we got onto that, but it's like I said, it's all over sports. Like I subscribe to Sports Business Journal, and I brag about this a lot because it's $800 a year.
I had no idea you subscribed to that, and I had no idea what it cost.
Me either, but it is worth it. They send you a magazine a week.
Oh yeah,
it is, dude. And you're on. It's like really good information, like fantastic information if you're in the sports world. But anyways, hey guys, I want to remind you, if you want to look as cool as JT, and Mike do on your screen, possibly in the palm of your hand right now. You want that sick Racers Club shirt? You want that OG Racers Club hat, custom made? Custom made Saskatchewan sealskin bindings. That's true. That's what they're made from. The hats are made out of Saskatchewan sealskin. It's incredible on your head, the way it fits, the way it feels. No, I'm just joking. But seriously, if you want to join the movement, if you want to be part of the club, you want to make it official, log on to racer.club today. We've got a brand new drop coming out in the next couple of weeks. We got a sick late October drop. We got a sick Black Friday drop. So seriously, make sure you check out the website. We've got new products dropping quite frequently now. We got a hoodie that's getting ready to come out that's going to be sick. Make sure you follow us on all the socials. That's at Racer Club. www.racer.club. Check it out. Get yourself some gear.
To comment on that real quick, Wes, the one thing that, we have a electrical business, but also a low voltage business that we do a lot of new residential. So over 3,000 homes a year. And the interesting piece that I always notice is, all right, so we do cabling, right? So whether that's cable TV, whether that's internet cabling, things like that, everybody we meet with is like, I don't need cable TV. I don't need that anywhere. And so we're looking at it as a business model. So it's really changed. Now it's like, okay, well, you need good wireless. You need to be able to stream. Right. You need to be this. And I can tell you that it's probably 75% of those customers, that's what they say, which is, at first I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bad for this side of the business. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, there's other opportunities. You have to, then we need to work on you having good internet. You could be able to stream, you'd be able to do that because that's what everybody wants. But then you take it to the racing side of it. I think that what keeps it why we have these questions is because most of our racers probably still watch cable TV, right? Our physical racers still are watching cable TV, and that's important to them. And it's important to them to have, to be on TV. And this is not a knock to anyone, but I see this all the time. And again, look, when we talk about NHRA, and NHRA is a great organization. You talk about they have Top Fuel and Funny Car. That's their big leader. Well, we're Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost. That's our big leader, and then we have Pro Stock and we have Pro Street and we have Pro 632 and the bikes, everything else comes along with it. But my point being that, there's times that I look at why would you go over and spend the kind of money that you're spending? Because there's a lot of guys that spend big money to put up huge money to race there, and I'm like, and it's like, well, but I get on TV. Well, but what is that TV doing for you? Because we just said it, it's like it aired at 3:00 in the morning and nobody got to see it. And was it a really good depiction of what we did? Because we already knew what happened, right? I mean, we all go to wherever we need to go to find out. So we have this big division of the diehards are watching us. The diehards are getting onto Flow. They're watching. They're looking for results. They're seeing it. We have all them. Everybody's doing it. They're there. Is that enough though, right? How do you get the people that don't follow you every day? How do you get the people that turn on Street Outlaws on Tuesday night that, and watch that show? How do you get that? And are they true race fans? Most of them are not, right? They enjoy cars. They enjoy competition. They enjoy, that they can, hey, I know what that's about. I know I used to have a car like that, so we always talk about, do we relate and things like that. So that's the hard part is you touched on the fact that we're changing every day. And I think it's clear where we're headed, right? I mean, everybody knows that it's headed to where it's a streaming system, a streaming world. But it's all still the same problem is how do you get on with the right people onto the right network and get to where you're streaming? Because we want to be seen. I think that the benefit is, I'm assuming it's this way everywhere, but we're all busy lives. The days of, growing up, my parents were both home by 4:30, 5:00, and you had dinner by 6:00. And, there was a time schedule that we all hit. But if you guys are doing that, I'm really mad because my life doesn't happen that easy. So
it's so unusual to have nothing to do. I had that conversation with my wife the other day, like how crazy that is because we kind of had that happen on this Sunday where it just fell. My mom was in town. Soph was sick. And it was like, all we can do is try to get her feeling better. The race was on. I wanted to watch the race. And it's like, we have nothing to do. And it was so weird, like so unusual. Cause like you said, you're normally like, okay, we got to be here, band practice, blah, 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 this thing, that thing, such and such. And you're going, oh my God, this is so hard to keep. I think you make a couple of observations off what you said. First off, they're an NHRA, they're an interesting example because we've seen a lot of positive talk over the course of the last several years, well, at least the last couple of years, post-COVID probably, or amidst COVID, where the NHRA's TV ratings have been very good, right, Mike? JT, I mean, we've seen all these reports and we've helped spread some of that message. We put out the press releases or whatever that all the, crazy numbers, right? Or over 1 million viewers. But does it matter? Because I see a bunch of races that don't have sponsors. I see a title rights sponsorship that's going away. Now there's rumblings that there's a big new title rights sponsor for the NHRA that's going to be announced. And I've heard a bunch about it, but I haven't seen anything official. So I don't want to say, but I mean, my point is NHRA's got the TV numbers, supposedly record viewership. And I don't see sponsors beating their door down. So that tells me that maybe good numbers on TV alone aren't enough. Right? Like I hear a lot that it's about how much attention can you garner. And I think that attention comes in a lot of different ways. And I think that attention is largely like a perception based thing. And I want to continue on that point because it's like you mentioned NHRA's got Top Fuel Funny Car. PDRA's got Pro Boost and Pro Nitrous. You know what No Prep Kings has? Daddy Dave, Murder Nova, Little Country. They don't have classes. They have those people. Like nobody is going to that event going, oh, badass, they're running big tire this weekend. They don't even know, they don't know shit about it. They have no idea, right? But they're a fan of those people. And I got to tell you, again, kudos to the Franklin family and everybody involved in keeping the PDRA going because you're right. This is a slow burn. Turning people into like, look at how hard the UFC has to work to try to find the next Conor McGregor. Whenever he happens, shit starts happening, pay-per-views start selling, sponsorship. But when he goes away, you know what I mean? You're spending years and years and years and millions of dollars trying to find the next one because it's not automatic. You know what I mean? And I would argue that MPK is suffering something of a downturn because the stars aren't doing that well anymore. Ryan Martin's not had the same type of success he has. Kai Kelly has obviously ran really well, but there's been a lot of kind of relative unknowns show up in the winner's circle at No Prep Kings races. And you're going, I wonder how that's going to impact the business. Because if it's not one of these well-known names from the show winning the race and running good and making lots of passes, I don't think they sell the type of tickets they do. Like, I think if that just becomes a big tire no prep race, I don't think it lasts. I really don't. I think it's already defied the odds in a lot of ways, right? Yeah. A lot of points there. Sorry.
No, you're right. And I think that this all comes back. We've talked about drag racing. Our age of viewers is too high, right? Too old. I mean, look, I'm one of those guys, right? I love it. But I also recognize that we need to have the younger people invested in the sport and understand it and enjoy it. At Virginia Motorsports Park, we have Street Outlaws come in. Those people, they're great people. They come in, the event's great. You see their spectators come in, and it's a older crowd as well. It's the same crowd as the, person that's watching NHRA and watching drag racing on NHRA. It's that kind of the same deal that, hey, I'm coming to meet a star, really, is what they're doing, rather than just watching diehard racing. We've all seen it. I've had national events. I've had No Prep Kings events. These people just come in droves. They stay a couple hours. They watch their hero go down the racetrack, and they get to go get an autograph from him, and then they leave. And I'm like, but where are you going? And right. They've got all that they wanted. And I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the point is that they weren't there for watching diehard drag racing.
Right. They're not there to watch every round and see, a staging duel in E2. Like, they're not there. They're there to go because I've had that conversation with a lot of promoters as well. It's like, hey man, you get a little lost on like trying to make sure that people are there for the whole time or whatever, or trying to serve the needs of this very small percentage of people that are at the event from start to finish. A large majority of folks are here for 2 hours, whatever, get a hot dog, hang out, have a beer, watch a little racing, go home as soon as they start to break a sweat or whatever their little trigger is, you know? So it's a very interesting thing for sure. But I think in closing here, I think it's amazing what you guys have done, Tommy. I'm glad and proud and humbled that you've done a ton of business with us. You've supported us. And I like to believe we've supported one another. We've done a lot of growing together, and I value it. I hope you know that, because I'm so thankful for the PDRA and what it represents in our community. It's significant, man. And have you ever heard, I'm going to get in trouble. Mike and JT are going to get mad at me because I'm going to get philosophical here, but I do want to remind you of one thing. Have you ever heard of the 99-1 rule when it comes to social media? All right, you need to remember this, and I have this conversation a lot, because I know what you're talking about when you talk about that online, what you see on social. There's this concept, and this was, I can't remember what school it was, but some university did this study, and they identified that this 99-1 rule, and it indicates that 90% of the people on social media are considered lurkers. That's 90%. So they are quiet participants, read and observe, but rarely contribute, if ever, right? That's like, I mean, to be honest, that's kind of me. Like, I look at social quite a bit, you know what I mean? And I pay attention, but I rarely say anything. Right? I certainly rarely comment on anything. But then there's 9% of these people that contribute from time to time. I think I'm in the 9%. You know what I mean? So there's 90% that never say shit. There's 9% that say something every once in a while. Then there's 1%.
If you tell us you're in the 1% too, I'm going to die laughing.
I'm not. The 1% are the people that comment on everything, right? Every day have 6 status updates, right? Reply to everything. And I think that anybody that's ever dealt with like criticism on the internet needs to remind themselves of the 99-1 rule. And it's that 99% of the people on social, they're not going to say much, if anything, is the takeaway. It's the 1%, that bitch and moan and always have an angle or always have an opinion or whatever. So the reason I'm telling you that, Tommy, is there's a whole world of us that are big fans of everything that y'all touch and everything you guys do. And I hope you know it, because, I mean, if you think about the landscape of drag racing sans PDRA, problem. I mean, big problem, in my opinion, you know?
No, we appreciate that. And I recognize it that it takes time to learn and grow that and just be able to block out that the only reason social media would ever bother anyone or ever bother me, I'm not going to say anyone, is because I want everyone to be happy, right? Yeah. But I know that that's not going to happen. And some people just never will be happy. And some people are just looking for a reason not to be happy. So
yeah, man, it's sport to a lot of folks.
It's easier for me just to block it out and be like, you know what? I'm not going to waste energy and effort on those kind of things, because there's just some things that you can't control. But, you know, but hey, when you want your employees to be able to be, you know, confident about the things they do and stuff like that. And that's the kind of things that, I think I've gotten tougher skin over time. That's like, whatever, I don't care no more. Whatever. Maybe it's an age thing. As you get older, it's like, whatever, I'm not worried about the people, you know, what they say. But the real truth is I am worried about it, because I do want everybody to be happy. But I know that it's unrealistic for everyone to be. So when the majority are happy, that's a win.
I think that's where you find yourself, Tommy. It's an incredible thing that you guys have done, and it's awesome to see in the winner's circle and standing there, going to be holding that championship trophy on a stage come December, which somehow is like 2 months from now. Not even.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 weeks actually.
No. I liked my 2 month. Yeah, no, 6 weeks is terrifying.
Yeah, it's 6 or 7 weeks. So It's close. It's
too close.
I only know that because I live with a crazy lady that is dealing with it right now. So she's in full mode.
I believe it, man. Well, we're looking forward to it. I say it every year that it's like the bangingest race banquet you'll ever go to. We look forward to it every year, man. We have a big time. So I can't wait for the 2023 version. And Tommy, congrats, man. We appreciate you being so generous with your time and coming on here and chatting with us a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you guys for everything. Thank you everybody out there that supports the PDRA, and Drag Illustrated. You guys have always supported us well, and from the beginning, right? I mean, you were there from the first day. So thank you for everything that you guys have put into it, because as we know, there's been a lot of change and momentums and things that happen, and that's all, it takes everybody to do it. We just talked about it's not one piece that makes these things operate. So thank you for everything, and we're going to continue just pushing hard in that same direction.
You got it, buddy.